Blessed be all my people out there. I hope you're all doing very, very well. In this video, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. And in the spirit of my 2025 goal of bringing more talks and more loftier topics to the table, I wanted to start talking about maybe some subjects that may or may not necessarily always connect with the world of astrology and tarot, but certainly could, but also be important opportunities to maybe connect and see what we need to see about navigating difficult experiences as part of the human condition. And drawing on my vast data pool of experience with doing literally thousands of personal readings for people, online at least, probably there's more, since 2013 here on YouTube. And that's thousands, not counting, the public YouTube stuff here. I'm talking like thousands of private personal readings. And one of the things that I've noticed, even just exploring, what I wanted to talk about and what I wanted to maybe bring up with people was that there's not a lot of coverage and not a lot of conversation out there for healing from the influence, the effect, and the experience of an inauthentic relationship or an inauthentic marriage. Now, this was actually moved to the front of this queue because of some news I received about a friend of mine from high school. He's actually in the middle of a move. He is going through a divorce, the end of a long-term marriage to a woman that he is actually, in his own process, realizing that this was not an authentic relationship. This was not an authentic marriage. He doesn't know. He's kind of questioning if either of them were even authentically loving to each other or authentically themselves the entire time. And that is something that a lot of people don't really discuss and explore. And I know he's not, alone in this. I've done readings for thousands of people, and believe me, a lot of people come through this kind of thing. And so I figured maybe in this video, I'll say what I gotta say. Going through any kind of major era change or any kind of relationship ending or divorce is extremely difficult and extremely complicated on the psyche and on the heart. That is something that we can all agree on, whether we've personally experienced it or we have observed it. But going through an experience of having something that either was always known to be or has been revealed to be inauthentic is a completely different story altogether. Because most of the literature, we'll just be generous and call it that, and we don't really talk about the challenge of inauthentic relationships. And I think the reason for that is to acknowledge the existence of inauthentic relationships is to basically also fortify and give credibility to the challenge of the ideological ideals of love that people might have, regardless of what their ideology might actually be. So when we talk about ideology, this could be a family ideology, it could be a cultural ideology, it could be a social ideology, it could be a media-motivated ideology, but likely, again, an ideological ideal that can't, by the virtue of the fact that it exists, be authentic all by itself, but also something that somebody may or may not feel pressured to want, whether or not it's an authentic want that they have or should have. So what happens? What are the wounds that come up in an inauthentic relationship? And what are the things that I've observed in inauthentic relationships in terms of patterns and what challenges come up for them? And why are they so challenging? More often than not, inauthentic relationships tend to be more set up to struggle by not just what they are, but their driving force in the beginning. You tend to see an imbalanced let's just say, alchemy between the partners involved in the relationship. And the motivation to get into the relationship itself may also be distorted, or something that is unbalanced, or maybe not something that is founded on something real or sustainable. Typically, in these kinds of relationships, you have one partner that is more geared towards the aesthetic accomplishment or the aesthetic fulfillment of the relationship ideal. Now, when we say aesthetic, yes, we are talking about appearances. We're talking about accomplishments. We're talking about milestones. We're talking about rites of passage, right? The list, the tick box, as it were, that is very, very important to them. And I'm not judging anybody who has that, by the way. If it's an authentic desire and it is something that is authentically motivated, then there's nothing inauthentic about it. But typically you do have somebody that is more geared towards that, whether they are authentically so in all those cases or not. And then you also have the other partner, which tends to be more of the partner that is not driven by those things, or not necessarily motivated by those things, but a partner that may be in a place where they believe that those things are the vehicle, or could be a vehicle, to authentic love. And so we have one person who says they are authentic love, and then one person who, on faith, is thinking that they will bring authentic love. And this is where things already start to, we start to see some challenges with the marriage itself, or the relationship itself, however it goes, however it's defined. Because as that advances with people, we often see that each partner goes through their own scarring struggles, whether or not they are clashing with their other partner. Most of the time, they eventually do more and more and more. People become alienated from each other, but they also go through their own private struggles. The one who believes the aesthetic experience or the ideological experience is itself authentic love, made true, will often find themselves in a space where enough is never enough. Because this is a person that is hoping that the aesthetic will become the authentic, right? The accomplishments, the milestones, the rites of passage, the status changes. When do these things become authentic love? The impatience with the advancement, or the status, or the experience of the relationship could, yes, of course, be around maybe practical challenges or practical concerns, but also at the same time, deep down, there is a cognitive dissonance in that person where they are realizing that no, none of those things equals authentic love. Even if authentically desired, they don't equal authentic love. And the desire to maybe sublimate or to suppress that acknowledgement, that cognitive dissonance, can cause them to become dysfunctional, and cause them to maybe even become not only more and more dissatisfied, but more and more of a hostile presence to themselves, a hostile presence to their partner, and a hostile presence to the relationship or the family. However, that family has grown. It doesn't matter if they have kids. It doesn't matter. It's just all about, okay, when does the authentic love come up? Because it doesn't show up through these things that promised authentic love. And oftentimes, those people believe that their partner is the one who made that promise, when the partner made no such promise. That was the ideology, that was the aesthetic, that was the challenge, that was their own wishes. If anything, their desire and their attachment to the aesthetic and the ideology made them betray themselves. But again, that is not something that they can handle. That cognitive dissonance is very hard to process, and so a vicious cycle begins, bigger and bigger and bigger. The other partner is typically a lot more, again, aware and accepting of the fact that these things do not equal authentic love. However, because there has also been an awareness of that while also still adopting the inauthentic marriage or the inauthentic relationship vehicle that they are in, and operating in accordance with the rules and customs of that inauthentic marriage and relationship. This person, again, maybe initially on faith, was hoping that those things would open up room or a space for authentic love, becomes disenchanted with the relationship, but not necessarily disenchanted in the way that the other partner is. This other partner is the one who tends to mourn and miss their authentic loves, their authentic selves. So instead of growing into more vicious cycles, this partner tends to have more of a slow burning grief or a slow burning mourning, which forces them underground, right? Seeking more time and space to retreat into themselves, into the world where they feel real, into the world where they feel authentic, into a world where they can accept what they've been expected to become. And therefore, we have the distance, and we have the challenge in the bad alchemy of an inauthentic relationship or an inauthentic marriage. This kind of connection will eventually fall apart, regardless of what is piled on, right? Accomplishments won't save it, projects won't save it, a new house won't save it, kids won't save it, money won't save it, vacations won't save it, because we already have a situation where the relationship itself isn't about authentic love. It's about seeking activities. It's about seeking things to do, performance. It's about that. And again, the one that maybe feels a bit more at home in the ideological or the aesthetic priority isn't even able to fully feel at home with what they're at home with. And the one that never did is so far underground and away that, coming out into that world to be with the partner or be in that house or be in that world and kind of live that life becomes sometimes, as I've observed with some people, too painful and too draining. And what often happens in this case is that this can be something that unfortunately can go on before anybody realizes that the healthiest thing to do is to either end what the marriage is, or perhaps, for themselves, end the marriage. Because the model and the vehicle don't take care of themselves. And if the model and the vehicle is toxic for everyone involved, we need to get out of the vehicle, whether we change vehicles or we get out and we get our own vehicles. Where the divorce or the breakup often has a lot of unfinished business is actually very personal and doesn't have a lot to do with the other partner. I mean, a lot of it does, but a great deal of what's out there in terms of healing and processing this doesn't really cover everything. Both of these individuals need to be able to actually heal the relationship that they have with, again, their authentic self. The authentic self that they were not allowing themselves to be, or could not bring forward, or could not comfortably exist in that relationship, in that marriage. And that can take time. That can take a lot of time. Because again, you have one partner, typically, that is very focused on trying to create a situation where the aesthetic becomes authenticity. So you're only doing that if you're not being your authentic self, or you don't know who your authentic self is. And then you've got the other partner that is very painfully aware that their authentic self has no room to exist and is constantly taking every measure they can to culture, foster, and nurture an authentic self space to go be in. When the relationship or the marriage ends, it doesn't mean we know how 100% to fully reconnect and recover that sense of being at home in our authentic self. The thing that you got to do in your situation, the pain of the divorce and the breakup isn't always just about the absence of the other person or the collapse of the family or the the practical dissolvement of the material situation. And in many cases, what can often happen is that, continuing to perform in an inauthentic way is also extremely damaging, not only to those performing it, but to everyone around them, right? Whether it's the family, whether it's the friends, the support system, the children, if there are any. When I think about my friend, the one who, again, inspired this video, that relationship, that marriage itself was completely motivated from an inauthentic place on the part of both partners. And again, we had a situation where she wanted everything on the list, believing that the aesthetic would become authentic. And he didn't believe any of that was authentic at all, but came from a perspective of thinking that he should. There were a lot of other external motivations, of course, in the relationship evolving into a marriage. He had a lot of external circumstances in his life that were kind of putting him in a headspace of, okay, well, under major life-changing events and things like that, sometimes you do go, let's give it a try, on the marriage. And in her case, it was, okay, look, by cultural osmosis, all of my friends and family members are getting married. We need to too. List. But nothing authentic was coming out of the situation until eventually it became, even their projects, their vacations, their kids, and they kept trying to bring things into an inauthentic love. That's scarring, and if you're coming out of a relationship like that, you need to heal your relationship with not only your authentic self, but get more comfortable with being your authentic self. There's so many things out there, there's so much media out there that doesn't even help you to do that or encourage you to do that, to reconnect with paths that you used to be on, to re-explore things that would have been good and authentically true to you, that were maybe blocked, denied, or deferred in order to either A, embark on the relationship, B, make the marriage happen, or C, keep it afloat for however long the skiff was going to make it. You don't want to be in a relationship where you're waiting for authentic love. And if there's anything to heal, it's that you were in something like that at all. Give yourself permission to get comfortable with being the you that you didn't let show up because it wasn't a hospitable environment for it. We all have aspects of ourselves that we wish we could be with our people. And unfortunately, we are, sometimes pushed by this world to be with people that are not our people, or to carry on in ways that are not authentic to us. And I've often found people are mourning that just as much as they are mourning either the loss of a relationship, loss of a marriage, or the absence of the other partner. But it's the people who do embrace and reconnect and get over the self-consciousness of whoever their authentic self is that do find true love. And you can start working on healing your relationship with your authentic self anytime. You don't have to wait until, you process everything from your last fight. Heck, I recommend people heal their relationships with their authentic selves before they even, sign the divorce papers. I mean, we all know most divorces and most breakups, especially long-term relationships, are afterthoughts anyways. The relationship's been over for a while by then. Use that time for that. But you have to pay attention to where you've lost touch with your authenticity. Do some reflective work. Go back in time. Reconnect with dreams. Reconnect with yourself. Reconnect with goals. What did you have to give up because this happened? What did you have to, block out because this happened? What could you not start? What did you have to discontinue? These are the things that you want to treat yourself to while you recover your relationship with your authentic self. Your old hobbies, your old dreams, your old wishes and desires. It's not about finding, a new person to do it all over again with. It's about finding your authentic self first, and then having an authentic relationship with an authentic person and enjoying an authentic love. Because a lot of people do have a lot of healing that they don't do after not just ending, but being in an inauthentic relationship or an inauthentic marriage. In fact, the inauthentic marriage or the inauthentic relationship is often more scarring than its end. So, just something to think about there for those of you out there who may find that this does have a ring of truth for you. I hope you did find this helpful, and if you enjoy it when I put up talks like this, please let me know in the down bar below, and if you have any questions or topics or things you'd like my thoughts on, let me know there as well. You guys take care, and I will see you all again soon.